hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome to today's live stream. It is Thursday, and that means it is time for the next vocal exercise boot camp. This is number 7 already. Wow, time flies by. And I hope by now you have a good grasp about how you can design your own exercises and how this all works. How to really prescribe an exercise that's going to help you get to a goal or to fix a problem. Hi, David, and everyone who's joining me live. Before I jump into all of the details here, I want to remind you one more time, if you have not picked up my book yet, Master Your Voice, my personal approach to more skill and depth in singing. It's really a motivational book that's going to help you stay focused and to really be inspired to say, yes, I want to do it right now. I want to start singing. I want to just dive more deeper into it. Pick it up on Amazon or the audiobook on my website, masteryourvoice.tv. Also, at the end of this lesson, after I get through the Q&A, or even maybe before I get into the Q&A, I want to talk a little bit about my masterclass, which I have just opened up for registration. It only happens a few times a year, so if you are interested, stay tuned till after the lesson. Okay, let's dive into the lesson today. I wanted to really get into transitions. Transitions are so important. It's really important to know how to be in one register, first of all. So you must know your chest voice. You must know your head voice. Basically, the two main mechanisms in your voice that you have that you can use. Don't just use one of them, and don't avoid the break in the voice, which is natural, which will always be there. It's never going to go away, but you have to address the break after you have managed to sing in both registers. Don't avoid one register because you will miss out on a large range of your voice, like a huge area. So if you just sing chest voice and you don't even sing in head voice, there's a natural limit as to how high you can sing chest voice, and after you get to that limit, you will have to switch registers, which will add on about another octave or more. If you don't have that, if you just stay in that one register, you're going to miss out on all of those pitches that you're going to have, okay? So at the same time, if you only sing in head voice, ladies, if you've sung in choirs and you've been singing mainly in head voice and you don't really know how to sing chest voice, you're going to miss out on the power you're going to have in your mid to low voice all the way down. So don't avoid one of the registers. Do both registers. We're not going to get into each one register. Can't talk today. We're not going to get into each one of the registers today. So I'm assuming you have that down. You're strong and solid on your chest voice. You're strong and solid on your head voice. Now we're just trying to bridge the gap, to put the two together so you can transition. The transition will always be there. It's always going to be an issue, even for professional singers. It's not an easy thing to navigate around the break because there's different ways you can transition from one to the next register. We're going to talk about it a little bit. So first of all, I would like to introduce the exercise. And again, I'm assuming I do have a bunch of pianos in the room here, but I want to make sure that everyone here can actually work even if you don't have a piano. So if you don't, download a free piano app. I'm using the Virtuoso app on my iPhone, which I think was also free. And if you don't have an iPhone, you can totally just search in the Play Store free piano app. You're going to get something like that. You just kind of, C4, F4. You're going to see where you're at. That is really good as a reference. Again, you must know your range, both in chest and in head voice. You also must know the area of your passaggio. The passaggio is the area of your voice where you can have or make a possible transition, where you could sing both in head or in chest mechanism. It's both possible, and the larger the area becomes of your passaggio, meaning the area where you can sing both chest and head mechanism, the more options you have as far as transitions go. So the first kind of transition I want to address today is an obvious break, and we're going to go through intervals. A lot of times when you sing a song, you have one pitch in one register, and then you have to make a transition to a higher pitch, which then will have to transition into head voice. So that happens a lot of times. So let's practice that. And I'm going to start in my own voice, of course. I can only demonstrate in my voice. I'm going to start, let me see. I'm going to start at D4. So that's my voice. You're going to have to figure out in your own voice. Start the lower pitch in an area where you can easily sing chest voice, which is kind of in the middle of your chest voice range. Then you need to find an octave where that lower pitch is in the middle of your chest voice, and the high pitch that is an octave higher is in your kind of in the middle of your head voice. That's where about it should lie, depending on your own voice. Everyone's voice will be slightly different. So for me, in my case, I'm choosing D4 on the lower side and then D5 on the upper end. I have to add today, I just got off a pretty bad cold, so I'm very phlegmy. I don't know how good I'm going to be today at demonstrating, but I'm very congested, but I'm trying my best. So we're going to go you. Try to always go chest, head, chest. However, do a legato transition. Legato just means you don't do staccato, sudden attacks, but you go in a very smooth way to transition back and forth. So I'm always increasing the interval by half a step each time I'm reiterating the exercise. So like this. Chest voice, head voice, chest voice. Sorry about that. I didn't cut off my email program. And then I'm going up a half step. You. Sorry, I didn't. I think I did something similar last time, but we're going to do transitions and we're going to try this. I'm going to show you one more exercise, but this is really good for transitions. So you-oh, 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 you-oh. I know you're going to remember that I just did something like this very recently, but there's a reason why I'm just repeating this. You-oh. We really want chest, head, chest. You-oh. 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 Now the octave, last one. You-oh. And then you can, of course, go backwards again. Okay, I know we did something very similar recently, but I want you to really concentrate on the legato register transitions. And the reason why it's really helpful to go Yah-oo-ah is that on the bottom, you have a kind of a closed vowel, which really helps you to, it's a kind of a darker color. Of course, you shouldn't purposefully darken it, but this is a little bit easier to be in chest voice to kind of get the feeling of heavy, light, heavy. And that's what we want here. We want the feeling of full chest voice and then open, light, head voice, and then down to chest voice here. This is on purpose. You could now, of course, again, we talk about it, make a variation out of this exercise. You could, of course, switch registers. So you could do the bottom in head voice and the top in chest, which will make it very heavy, difficult. Then I will have to change my range a little bit because in order to do the bottom, no, I can actually leave it the same. I can go, let me try this. The bottom in head voice on a oo, and the top in a belted chest voice. Of course, the higher I get, the more I belt. You-ah-oo. Much harder. You-ah-oo. You-ah-oo. See how I'm really belting more on the top now? Because I'm trying to do the chest voice on the top. It's a lot harder. Different. So different. You-ah-oo. So basically what I want to practice is any interval in my voice coming from a top heavy chest voice to a bottom head voice, which shouldn't be too heavy, of course, because that's not gonna happen in a song to where you go oh in the bottom. We don't want to get too heavy there. I don't know where I was, but so that legato really helps because I can prepare the path to the top. There's actually a journey. There is a progression. When I go more legato, I have a little bit more time to actually work on getting there, which shouldn't mean you should become sloppy. You still do it very clean, but always connecting the two pitches by not abruptly jumping from one to the next, but by connecting the two is going to make you more aware of what is it that I am changing? What am I moving around here to get from point A to point B? So that was pretty high. Always head voice on the bottom. Really hard when I have a cold here. When I'm inhaling, I'm always having that phlegm in my throat. So that is how you can design the exercise. Now what you can do, of course, you can zero in on that exact area that always gives you the most trouble. So I don't know, for me, where is that sharp point of break where I want to, kind of high in my chest voice so that I easily would flip into head voice. And so that is usually a point where I would most likely make a transition from chest to head. Let's just pretend it's A4. So, ma, 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 ma. So now what I'm doing, I'm taking that same exercise, but I'm moving it up and I'm changing the interval to just be a half step or a whole step. So as if it were part of a melody line that doesn't move in large intervals, but in smaller intervals. Okay, so that happens a lot in melodies. Da 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 da. I mean, smaller intervals, right? So A4. This is in chest voice. Now I want to go a whole step up into head voice. But of course, I don't want to sound too classical. So we want to go. Let's do you-ah-oo and then Yah-oo-ah. Let's change it. You-ah-oo. So chest voice, head voice, chest voice. So I'm doing the tilt in the larynx, going from chest to head mechanism, but I'm trying to be very legato about it. Don't worry about if you feel that very obvious flip. That's okay. If it's still very much jumping from one to the next pitch, it's okay. But the more you zero in on just singing two pitches that are close together, the better you're going to be at realizing or just feeling that exact moment where it does flip and jump. So that is very valuable. That information for your brain, if you repeat this a lot, that information of anticipating that exact instance where that flip happens. That's what this exercise really helps you do. So chest, head, chest. Let me do a half step only. Let me do Yah-oo-ah now. Yah-oo-ah. So again, I don't want to sound obviously so different on the top pitch. So I could move it up a half step. Maybe that's even harder then. The higher you're going to be in your chest voice, the heavier you're going to be if you sing it high. And the harder it's going to be to have a smooth transition, because then the flip is even more obvious. Yah-oo-ah. I feel it's, I don't know, maybe it's easier. Yah-oo-ah, I don't know. Yah-oo. So it's chest, head, chest. Of course, you can switch it. However, mostly it's going to be in songs that, usually it's going to appear in a way that the bottom is chest and the top is head, because your chest voice range is at that end. You're coming to the end of that range, and now you still need to add on some pitches on the top, because the song does go higher, so you need to sing those couple pitches, or maybe just like a half a phrase in head voice, and then as it moves lower again, you can get back into chest voice. So, and you can always do it from the top down also. So let me start on the B4 in head voice, and then transitioning down, doing it the other way, and then going back into head voice. So, you-ah-oo, yah-oo-ah. Really scratchy voice today. It's just the phlegmy. Or the half step, or even a third. You-ah-oo, yah-oo-ah. You can play with it. You can make the bottom heavier or lighter, or make both heavier or both lighter. So, you-ah-oo. Still chest, head, chest. However, the break is less obvious. Now, if I make it really, really heavy, you-ah-oo. See how that flips a lot more obvious then? And that's really what you need to do in order to gain the experience. It's really all about giving your brain the experience of knowing when that flip is going to happen, so that you can eventually anticipate it, and you already know exactly that moment, what it feels like and when it's going to happen, so that you can control it better. And so do it in all kinds of combinations. You can either go chest, head, chest, head, chest, head. You can go to falsetto instead of full head voice. You can go into more of a mix on the top, like a heady mix, or you can go into a chesty mix. You can just, all combinations that are possible, try them out, and just do that one exercise and do all kinds of different variations. It's fun, and it gives you a lot of experience. So I want to take all your questions, and while you're thinking about your questions, I want to tell you about my masterclass. I have just opened my masterclass for registration, and I'm really excited about it. I'm thinking I'm not going to have a lot of spaces this time available, just because there are quite a few members who are going to continue on, that are going to stay in the masterclass, and I only have a very limited amount of time that I can, I can only add a limited amount of people, just because I want to spend time every single day in my masterclass, and I want to give everyone the attention. I actually just went live on Facebook about an hour ago or so, and I talked about the 5 reasons why you should not work on your own, why you should have support. Now, support could be in all shapes and forms, but the best way is to actually have someone you trust, someone you knows what they're doing, and someone who you feel kind of, trust is such a huge thing when it comes to singing. You have to trust in their knowledge, and you have to trust in them personally, because singing is personal. So my masterclass is now open for registration. You can go to masteryourvoice.tv/online-masterclass. Yes, it's going to be awesome. It's 4 months, and I am opening up now just for May, and then it's going to be closed again. You can get an early bird discount if you register by May 15th. You get $100 off, and you can just use the coupon code EARLYBIRD. If you want to get more information, I will probably, after I get off this live stream, I'm going to put some links below this video that link to videos where I talk more in depth about my masterclass. So if you are interested in my masterclass, it's a 4-month intensive program where you get me personally every day, get my personal feedback every day. And everyone who is in the masterclass, currently, they will tell you they have learned more in just a few short months than in the years before that about singing, just because of the format of the masterclass. The masterclass, thank you for asking the price. The masterclass is $1,200 for the 4 months, and with a discount, you get $100 off. It's $1,100 US. You can also pay in monthly installments. So if you pay in 4 monthly installments, the first installment will be $250 and the following 3 will be $350. And like I said, I'm going to only have a few spots available this time because there are so many in the masterclass who want to continue on. They're going to stay around, which I love. And I think 4 months is really the minimum for me to fulfill my promise of drastically changing your understanding and your approach to singing, and to really open up your horizons to like, whoa, I never knew all of this stuff. So yes, and Janet is here and Betty Jo is here. If, they have been in the masterclass, and thank you for joining today. They will all tell you it's a wonderful group. Okay, now I would like to take all of your Q&A about today's lesson. Can you tell more about how it feels to switch between chest and head voice, where you feel it? Yeah, okay, so there is an actual change in position in your larynx. So when you speak, that's chest voice. So it's like, ma, 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 this is chest voice. And now when you talk like an opera singer, it's like, hello, how are you today? There's a tilt happening. There's an actual tilt. There's different muscles that take over, the CTs, the cricothyroid muscles that take over, that cause that position to change. Whereas when you're in chest mechanism, it's the thyroarytenoid muscles that are more prevalent. So it's like, ma, 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 oh, chest, head, voice. Like I said, these exercises only work really well when you are fully aware of both of your registers. If you are not there yet, you can go back and work on your separate registers. Don't try to connect them yet unless you really have a good grasp on, am I in chest voice or am I in head voice? And you're really certain about that. Otherwise, like I said, you're not going to be able to make the exercise work for you because you don't really know whether you're in head or chest voice. And then you're not really working the exercise. Janet says this is quite advanced, I feel. It is. Transitions are actually always advanced because it is difficult. Even for a professional, it's still difficult. The vowel one chooses is important. Yes, it is, because you will feel that a closed vowel and an open vowel will have an effect on the resonance, which then also affects your shape of your larynx and your resonance. It really makes a difference which vowel you are using. And that's why I want you to experiment around with different vowels, because it will feel different each and every time, depending on what you combine. You can stay on the same vowel. It is harder, I think, because changing helps you to change, because you're changing the position here by the tilt, and it does help to also change the position in the whole resonance, like the whole pharyngeal area there. It does change a little bit. It's a little easier then. Some will be a lot easier than others. Yes, totally. You already early mentioned the reason for using ooh for chest voice. Yes. Well, or ooh for head voice can be really nice because you have more compression. Ooh, it kind of mimics the straw that you could use to help you have more compression, lose less air, and be less breathy. And an open vowel will be more conducive to more breathiness or losing more air. So that's why an ooh will feel always very different than an open ah, for example. Okay, Ann-Kristin is asking, when you did the lowest tone in head voice and the highest in chest voice, I wasn't able to do it legato. Yes, it is harder. I just started cracking. Yes, that is probably normal in the beginning, and the small intervals were much harder than the full octave. Yes, the closer together, the harder it will be, because there's only very small changes that you have to make. It has to be a lot more fine-tuned and subtle. And when there's a large interval, there's bigger changes, and it's more like, in German there's this nice word, we call it grobmechanisch and feinmechanisch. So the rough mechanics and the fine mechanics. So when you do large intervals, it's like the rough mechanics, and it is a lot easier in the beginning. But the closer the intervals get, the more you have to do like a lot of little fine-tuning things, because it's only small changes. And then the cracking is normal when you do the bottom in head voice. It is harder to sustain a full tone in head voice when it is low. So that is totally normal, because your body naturally wants to go the easy route and actually do a chest voice when you have a lower pitch. It's easier. That's the natural way. Lower, higher, that's the natural way. And you're wanting to go against the natural way, which sometimes in a song, you want to do that on purpose because you want that sound. Easy-va. Thank you, Freya. Can you just point out to us where the CT and T are actually located? Well, they're actually right around your larynx. There's actually several muscles. There's a lot of muscles. I don't have a graphic here with me right now, but you can look it up on Google. Just type in cricothyroid and thyroarytenoid, plus the word singing. And there's tons of graphics coming up that actually show you. It's just a bunch of muscles. You're not really... What is important is that you feel. You have to try it. It doesn't really help you if I tell you where they're located, because that's not going to help you feel. It's like me telling you where the larynx is located, but to really differentiate between feeling something move in the larynx and the pharyngeal space, it's going to be hard. You just have to try out, and then after you feel it, knowing what it is that you are moving, that is helpful. So they're just a bunch of muscles located right around your, well, they're attached to your vocal folds also. So it's not just one movement. It's like, it's like when you move your finger, there's a few muscles, or your face. I mean, there's hundreds of muscles in your face. Feeling the coordination is important. First feeling it, and then knowing what it is that you're moving. Okay, somebody is typing Dutch. Hi Rino, hoi wat hier? Is nog eentje uit Nederland? Oh, I understood what you were saying. It's like, hi Walter, here is somebody else from the Netherlands. I'm not Dutch, but when I speak it out, it sounds similar to German, and the way the words sound, it's easy for Germans to understand some Dutch. Julia says, hi Freya, your boot camps are wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I enjoy it so much. One question. If I work on the range extension, I can move forward my note of passaggio. 1 or 2 pitches, right? Or I can't because it depends on my vocal cords. Okay, if I understand you correctly, you're really asking if you're extending your range, if you can also move that exercise up, that is your passaggio. Yeah, as you're increasing your range, the area of your passaggio will either move up or increase. It really can happen that as your voice changes, it depends really on your age and a lot of other factors. But as you increase your range, your whole passaggio may even move up, because you can't even sing head voice that low naturally anymore. But more likely than that, it is the fact that the area of your passaggio where you can have a transition, possibly, it's just going to expand. Whereas, of course, the area that you must have a transition will just move up. Does that make sense? The difference between that? There is an area in your voice where you can transition, meaning you could sing chest voice or you could sing head voice. Like I could sing still head voice on a D4, but I also can sing chest voice on a D4. But I also can sing head voice on D5, and I can sing head voice on and chest voice on D5. Does that make sense? Whereas when you're not trained so much, you might not have that large area where you could sing both registers. But certainly as you increase your range, like for me, when I get to about D sharps 5, E5, I must transition. Then I don't have a choice. That is like the limit of my chest voice, and that is my must transition area. And that's just going to move up as you increase your range. That is if you increase your range in your chest voice. Then the necessity to transition into head voice from chest voice is just it's gonna get higher all the time. Well, thank you, Rino. I guess it's gonna help for me to understand some Dutch here and there. Okay, so talking is really a lot of work for me today, and I've already went live on Facebook. And by the way, you should catch that video. It's on my Facebook page. It's really valuable. It's really 5 reasons why you should not just work on your own. I know there's a lot of information on YouTube, and there's a lot of information on Google, and there's courses out there. But in my Facebook live stream that I just did today, it's on my Facebook page, Freya Casey, professional singer and vocal coach. I really go into depth, and it's going to really open your mind as to why your progress is going to be so much faster when you actually not just have the information, but to have someone check on you and to have a real person to work with. When you say chest voice, do you include your mixed too? Well, in this exercise, really what we want is just heavy chest and heavy head. When you get into mix, it's not... We're going to talk about mix here soon. It could be talked about forever. I only want to talk about mix when you really have such a good grasp of the different colorings and the different ways to be heavier and lighter in each of the registers. Because mix is not a register on its own. You can be in chest voice and begin mixing. And you can be in head voice with a little tilt already and still be mixing. So chest voice, this time I'm really just talking about full chest voice and not mixing yet in this exercise here today. We're going to talk about the mix here soon, possibly next week. I'm not sure, depending on how well I am by then, but I'm sure I'm good by then. But mix is definitely like a huge topic, huge. And Kristen, if I am singing a song that goes higher than I can belt and I have to sing in a head mix on the top, should I belt as high as I can before I switch, or should I start mixing earlier? It really depends on the progression of the song. Let's just say, if you have a passage of the song that needs power on the top, and you can just get that top by belting out loudly, and it doesn't go much higher than that, it's just up there for a couple of pitches and not too long, and then you're just moving down again, and it's a passage that needs power throughout, then I would recommend you don't mix too much, because you're not going to have that power, and it's going to be harder to stay in that powerful sound as you're just shortly moving up, belting out, and then moving down again and keeping the power. Whereas if you have a song that moves up, needs strong sound, and then moves up even higher, and then you have to definitely get into head voice, but it needs a consistent sound, because you don't want suddenly to sound like an opera singer. It's like ba 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 ba. I would start mixing on the lower pitch so that you can slowly introduce a tilt that then increases as you're moving to that higher pitch. Does that make sense? it's really setting up the whole musical phrase to where you have the sound you desire while still staying in full control. I hope that makes sense. It is different from song to song. Yes, Rino, look at that video on Facebook. It's really useful. All right, I gotta wrap it up now because I've been talking a lot today and been singing too much. My voice is okay by now, but I still have this junk in my throat and I have to cough. Hear that? As soon as I breathe too much, it's like junk in my throat here. But it is a lot better. I feel so much better. I always strain when I transition. Can I have some tips for it, please? Like I said, you know what? The secret to good transitions is really good registers. So that's what I would work on first. Have a good top chest register and have a good bottom head register. When you master those two to where you can sing in both heavy and non-heavy, then the transition will not be strained. The transition will always be strained when you're starting to sing chest voice, go higher, and you're already straining in your high chest voice. Of course, your transition will be strained because you're already straining in your chest voice. Whereas if that first part of the equation, where you're coming from, feels good and easy and open and not strained, and if where you're moving to feels open and nice and not strained, which we talked about last week, then the transition, it makes a lot more sense to even have a transition, right? The smooth transition can only happen when both parts, where you're coming from and where you're going to, are both easy enough for you. Hope that makes sense. I feel like I repeated a lot from what I did last week, but I thought it was so important. What is the D5 note in comparison to a guitar note? It's still D5. If you have a tuner, your tuner can tell you which one is D5. It's still the same. D5 is D5. In my voice, I have a D5, or in saxophone can play a D5. D5 is just explaining which D it is. There's more than one. Ba 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 ba. I mean, right? I don't know. That was not D. I know it wasn't D. Let me just check. What was it? This is D4. This is D5, which probably would be a little too high for you because male voice, that would be pretty high. Okay, everyone. That's all for today. I'm getting off here. Whew, I'm really exhausted now from all this. Thank you for hanging out. And I would love for you to support me by giving the video a thumbs up and, of course, sharing it if you find it valuable. Share it with a friend who also loves singing. Share it on Facebook. Share it on whatever social platform you use. And that way more people find it. I put a lot of work into my videos and I want as many people as possible to find these so that they will also understand so much better how the voice works. All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful day and I will see you next time. Bye now.